Again, this is a difficulty in adopting dichotomous thinking. Facts that challenge theories do not necessarily need to eradicate these theories. The impact of the facts can be assessed and the likelihood in which the theory is invalidated by them judged. This again is a probabilistic function rather than an absolute. He goes on to compare new and old theories and suggests that the imagined content of older theories shrinks as they are displaced by new theories. The inference here is that the older theories contain an essence of truth, and so in the cycle of history, different truths are interchanged and the associated wisdom is lost. Well, I would agree that it is a pity that the thoughts built up on these older theories become lost in time, but I challenge the central underlying assumption that an older valid truth is replaced by another equally valid truth. Science is young. There has been insufficient time to see if there will be another fundamental change. Systematic historical writings date back a few thousand years, and most of the writing that is considered, at least in this book, starts with the Greeks 2,000 years ago. The paradigm shift which is being discussed is a single shift which occurs with Copernicus, Kepler and Galileo in the Middle Ages. On the basis of this understanding, added to by later theoreticians and scientists, it is possible to calculate the trajectory of an interplanetary satellite. The repeated launching of satellites and spacecraft is testimony to the power of such predictions. If there were another paradigm shift, would it interfere with the current process by which scientists are able to predict the trajectories of satellites? The answer must surely be no, other than to perhaps refine the accuracy. Thus, the body of science in this particular area has achieved a practical utility which serves society's needs in that one area. Feyerabend implicitly assumes that there could be another paradigm shift in which the current theories will be torn down and will be subsumed by another theory. Perhaps they will be, but even if a new theory were put in place in its application to satellites, it would be difficult to see how it wouldn't collapse into the laws that are currently successfully used, in which case they would essentially remain invariant. Thus, there is a distinction between the practical utility of a theory and the idealistic truth of a theory. Even this term, idealistic truth, however, would be better replaced with probabilistic truth. Thus again, I do not think that Feyerabend has sufficiently defended his initial assertion that critical rationalism is invalid. In this appendix, Feyerabend looks at the issue of alternatives to science. He refers to recent developments in China and states that
they restored important parts of the intellectual and emotional heritage of the Chinese people, and they also improved the practice of medicine. It would be of advantage if other governments followed suit.
I would argue that this is a political statement rather than a philosophical one. Thus, in 1998, China's scientific output was stated to be roughly 20,000 articles per year, but by 2009 this output was approximately 120,000 articles per year. Similarly, Feyerabend earlier in the book commented on how Western values were being pushed into China, the implication being that science is playing a role in this. However, it is curious that he makes no mention of the scientific heritage of China. For instance, in the area that his central discussion takes place, he neglects to mention the works of Master Shi Shen, 4th century BC, in astronomical observations, Lord Gan, 4th century BC, who constructed a star catalogue, and the astronomical observations of Shen Kuo in the 11th century. These astronomers created large bodies of empirical evidence, these areas of scientific inquiry that have been essentially ignored by Feyerabend suggest that scientific activity has arisen in independent cultures, but would also support the hypothesis that it has a biological correlate. This evidence, however, is only sufficient to point in that direction. It would require a close examination of historical evidence to exclude confounders. Nevertheless, other more suitable methods would be better suited to investigating this question. I am tempted to go slightly astray here and provide the audience with some rather interesting footage that I have captured of some lemurs examining a novel object in their environment. The lemur lineage is estimated to have diverged from the human lineage some 63 million years ago, Dawkins 2003. Nevertheless, the footage that I have obtained demonstrates lemurs investigating the object, a camera stand, utilizing all of their senses, and even pushing the camera stand repeatedly. While such an explanation of this footage is highly speculative and it may have no significant meaning, the exploratory behaviour reminds me in some capacity of the exploratory work that is done in science in obtaining a better understanding of the world around us. The clip serves as a starting point for looking at how an informal science may have an underlying biological basis that transcends culture and even species, although a formal written science, as demonstrated by humans, is another matter.